Hello and welcome to this short video on the US midterm elections, which will occur next Tuesday, which is November the 6th. For this, I want to focus on the outcome of a possible Democratic victory, and by that I mean the Democrat Party would win one or both houses. If we take our minds back to 2016, remember Republicans won a majority in both the Senate and the House of Representatives, and what this did was give them ample political power to enact a lot of their legislation. So they pushed through large-scale tax cuts, higher public spending. If they lose one or both the houses, then it does limit this power, and they could become a little bit hamstrung by bipartisan politics, as we saw with Obama in the 2010 midterms. Now, for the Democrats, I beg your pardon, to win one of the houses, they require 51 seats in the Senate and 218 in the House. So these are numbers to look out for when the results are announced. If the Democrats do win this, there's less chance of further fiscal stimulus, as they'll be able to vote this down, and there's also a chance that the debt ceiling doesn't get increased. Again, this is what happened with Obama, and what this means is the Republican Party have less chance to increase their public spending and provide more expansionary fiscal stimulus. There's also a great chance we do get more thorough, let's say, Trump investigation and a possible impeachment. And overall, I think you could sum it up as being less business friendly. Therefore, it could be negative for stocks and negative for the US dollar. Now, I just want to point out the seasonality that we've seen in midterm years going back to 1950. So this is the S&P 500 chart. What you can see is for the first 3 quarters of the year, the market on average has been pretty flat, even negative, but then there's been a strong push higher in the final quarter. Now, why this is important also is there's not really a clear correlation between the incumbent party retaining control or gaining more control, or the opposition taking control of them. Either way, it does seem like we've seen a strong move higher on average in the final quarter. So we could actually see a positive move once the uncertainty around the midterms is out of the way, even if we do get a victory for the Democrats. Now, turning our attention to the charts, this is US 500 on a weekly time frame. You can see since US election there's been a strong push higher, 45% gains, the all-time high of 2946. But we have recently seen some selling. We've seen a 12% drop, which is percentage-wise the same size decline we saw earlier this year. Now, if we do get a negative market reaction to this, possibly on the Democrats winning one or both the houses, and we do see the market drop down below 25.30, then the outlook becomes a lot more negative for this market, and it negates the series of higher lows that we've seen throughout the last couple of years. And we could see further declines going back towards these lows seen around the low at 2030 of the night of the US election. Now, the US 30, you can see with this arrow, this is the US election, strong move higher. What I want to talk about mainly here is the market's been above the 200 SMA for the vast majority of this time. Now, this can be seen as a trend identification technique. So when it's above the 200 SMA, simply it's in an uptrend. If it's below it, it's in a downtrend. And you can see we have rolled over and moved down below the 200 SMA for the last week and a half, let's say. There have been little occasions, like here back in the summer when we did dip below, but you can see the market quickly got back above there. If we don't see a push back above this 200 SMA, which is currently at 25,080, then there is a chance of further declines with a 38.2, 23,324, possibly even further down to 61.8 at 21,081. Turning our attention to tech, there's been some heavy selling in US tech stocks lately, and it's a similar story to the US 30 here when we look at the US 100. Since the election low here, you can see a strong move higher, vast majority of the time above the 200 SMA, but we have dropped down below it actually for the first time in over 2 years, and the SMA itself has started to level off. Now, this is now at 7,085, and unless we do get back above there, then there could be further downside to come. The 41.4% fib at 6423 is a possible level to keep an eye on, but again, you could see deeper declines, 61.8, possibly even 78.6 if we do get a negative market reaction here. Looking at gold, the last couple of years have been a range trade really. We did get a strong negative reaction once the dust settled on the 2016 election result, so we could see an immediate move to the downside if we see the Republicans remain control, but if the Democrats win one of the houses, then we could get a push higher here on the back possibly of a weakening in the US dollar. We did have a possible breakout from this low that we've seen here and a strong move to the upside, but the last couple of weeks we've seen consolidation, and today we are actually falling back towards those lows seen a couple of weeks ago. The US dollar index is particularly interesting heading into this event. You can see we're close to the highest level of the year. Going back to 2016, there was a positive market reaction to Republican victory. So if we do get a Democrat victory this time, then you could see some downside. Any reversal signs here could present nice short opportunities for a move back to 95, 94, and possibly down to this 93.60 region. You can see the 200 SMA is currently around 93, quite a long way from the market. And previously, when there's been a big divergence away from the 200 SMA, there has been some sort of mean reversion. As you can see above here, pulled back. When it was a long way below here, it pulled back, and same here. And we are getting quite a big gap opening up. Finally, the dollar Mexican peso. Now, this was known as the Trump trade around the last election. We saw a 17% rally on the week of the 2016 election when Trump was elected. And you can see just recently we've seen a strong move to the upside this week. The market is attempting to break higher after pushing above this 1935. But if we do see a Democrat victory, then I suppose there'll be more problems for Trump in his hostile actions towards Mexico in terms of building the wall. There has been a new NAFTA agreement negotiated, so possibly the negative side for Mexican peso isn't quite so great, particularly if the Democrats win one or both the houses, and we could see a pullback into this 1935 region. Okay, thanks for listening and best of luck if you're trading over these midterms.